Here's the truth about the exposure triangle. So there's a concept out there called the exposure triangle, which is basically 3 camera settings: ISO, aperture, and shutter speed, that are said to be the camera settings that will determine your exposure in camera. The problem is that this is a concept that more comes from photography rather than filmmaking, and here's the reason why. Each of the 3 camera settings in the exposure triangle actually has a specific side effect that affects the look of your image. So if you set those camera settings in order to get the right look in camera, then they don't become available for you to actually use them as exposure settings. So since your shutter speed is always supposed to be double your frame rate, your aperture should be set based on the amount of depth of field you want in the shot, and your ISO should be set so that you have as little noise as possible and so that your dynamic range is mapped to the shadows or the highlights depending on where you want them. Then you can't really use those settings in order to control your exposure. So what do you do instead?